Alright, so this is Mike and Cody over at GRETA'S Guns in Simi Valley. We're going over some common questions we get in the shop. First question is it cheaper to build an AR or to buy an AR?
So if you're looking for the cheapest way to get into an AR, typically it's going to be buying one that's already done. You're going to get a factory warranty with it. The downside to that is if you're a guy that likes to customize everything, if you're going to buy a rifle and then pull it all apart and change everything, it doesn't really make sense to kind of buy everything twice. You are obviously going to lose your warranty to some level by modifying everything, but ARs are pretty modular. Something fails on it, typically it's pretty inexpensive to fix depending on what it is, and isn't that big of a deal.
So speaking of doing a build of an AR versus buying an AR, when it comes to going to a maglock system or a featureless system, does one sway over the other as far as your opinion in that topic?
Generally, I like maglocks better than featureless. There are nice things about having a featureless setup rifle. You get to drop your mags. You can legally insert high capacity magazines if you happen to possess them. But that's kind of where the benefits end. You know, if you have a grip fin and a fixed stock, it's not really very ergonomic. It's kind of hard to hold the rifle sometimes. And then you also can't have a flash hider, which to some people that matters. With a maglock, you can really have whatever you want. You're not restricted to having collapsing stocks or folding stocks if the rifle's long enough. You can have your pistol grip, forward grip, any flash hider or muzzle device you want, aside from suppressors here in California. Other than that, I mean, the benefits of having a maglock system that works well, as long as you train with it, it's not that big of a deal to go through the extra steps of using a magazine lock.
So would you say for a home defense, because we get questions a lot as far as would an AR be a great home defense gun, or would you recommend a different caliber and or platform when it comes to strictly home defense?
Well, an AR would be a great home defense platform, but caliber is going to be very important. If you're running a traditional 5.56, typically that's going to have a high penetration value, so you're going to be able to punch through walls, potentially, you know, into your neighbor's house, and that's an issue. So if you go to a 9mm, you know, a pistol caliber, maybe a subsonic 300 blackout, you're still going to have some penetration problems there, but definitely something lower pressure would be a great home defense option.
When it comes to home defense or self-defense, would you recommend hollow points, or does the grain of bullet matter, or can someone just use standard FMJ rounds in their self-defense weapon?
Typically, in a defensive situation, a hollow point is preferable. The projectiles are going to expand on impact, so they're going to typically do significantly more damage than a full metal jacket. A full metal jacket will expand maybe to some degree, but it's not going to do a ton of permanent damage. A lot of times it'll travel right through and just punch a hole. Bullet weight does matter. You know, if you're talking about a 9mm, for instance, 115 grain is kind of common, especially for range ammo, and then you have 124 grain and 147. Those are the three most common grain weights. 147 and 124 you typically see more often in a defensive situation. They're heavier, but they don't have too much recoil. The nice thing with a 147 is it is subsonic. So if you're not looking for something that's super loud, you know, it's not going to break the sound barrier and, you know, make a loud crack. 147s are very good, but you might get a little bit more felt recoil out of that. Some people do run 115 grain, but it's a little bit lighter, obviously, but you will get lighter recoil. So typically a lot of people will go to 124 grain, and that's a happy medium.
So a common question we get around here is, which red dot would you recommend for my pistol and why?
Red dots on handguns are really kind of a personal preference as far as brand and style, and really kind of what you intend to use the red dot for, whether it's target practice or defensive use. Some red dots are significantly stronger than others. Some of them attach to the slide a little bit better than others. Some of them have different dots or a circle dot, you know, different setups. So depending upon what you personally prefer, there's a lot of different options. Generally, I run 1 MOA dots, which are very small on handguns, but I like to be able to see through the dot. The dot with the circle setup tends to cover up a lot of target, so if you know, that works if you run it really dim. But personally, I'm not a fan of that, but a lot of people are. Alright, so we get this one a lot. Can someone else pick up my gun?
So if you are the person who is starting the background of the firearm, or you've brought it in for gunsmithing, you have to be the person that picks it up. It doesn't matter if it's your wife, your brother, your dad, your mom. If it's your firearm, you have to be the customer that comes in and picks it up and signs for it.
If I don't like my gun after I purchase it, can I return it?
So after you've purchased your firearm and you've waited the 10 days and passed the DROS background and you're approved and you pick up your firearm, you are not allowed to return that firearm and it is registered to you. However, here at GRETA'S Guns, we do offer the options of putting your firearm on consignment, or we will buy it outright from you as a sale. Depending on which option you go with, we can have one of the sales guys help you out.
Can I buy a gun off my friend without coming in to do a transfer?
Both the buyer and seller for a private party transaction must be present in the store at the time of transfer. The seller will need to sign the firearm away to the buyer, at which point the buyer's background days will start. He will have 10 days to wait before he can take the firearm home. Once approved by DOJ, the purchaser will leave with the firearm. The gun must stay at the store possession for 10 days at a minimum.
I've been convicted of a felony over 10 years ago. Can I still buy a gun?
If you've been convicted of a felony, you may not purchase a firearm or ammunition. You also cannot be present inside a retail location that sells firearms or ammunition if you are a prohibited person.
How long does gunsmithing take?
At GRETA'S Guns, at any time, we have roughly 300 to 500 guns that are currently in a wait list for gunsmithing. Our current lead times are 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your projects. We work on everything from simple iron sights to full restorations. To get a more accurate lead time, bring your projects in and we can definitely help you out.
How do you apply for a CCW?
So with the new laws in California, we get a lot of people asking, how can I get my CCW? Depending on your county, for example, if you're Ventura County, they're processing CCWs through the Ventura County Sheriff's Department. You can find the link on their website. If you are in a jurisdiction such as LAPD, Pasadena PD, Santa Monica PD, where they have their own jurisdiction for a police department, you will need to reach out to those departments to figure out their process for applying for a CCW.
How should I transport my firearms into the gun store?
So when bringing your firearms into GRETA'S Guns, we would like them to please be unloaded in a bag or case and not on your person. Do not bring them in a holster. Do not bring them in your hand or a sweatshirt. If you have multiple firearms or you're unsure if they're unloaded, please grab a sales associate and they will come out to the car and inspect the firearms and make sure they're safe to bring into the store for all of our customers and employees. So if you bring your firearm to the store and you do have a CCW, please let the sales associate know, and we will allow you to go into a safe location to unload and unholster your firearm, and you can then bring it in for servicing. So most of the common questions that we get asked around here, all of us sales associates, myself included, are, is Mike here? Is there any way he can work on this while I wait? And if Mike's not here, do you happen to know when Mike's going to be back so we can work on this while I wait? We'll get back to you on that as soon as we find Mike.